Good morning, everyone. The last class I've discussed about the Vibrios and Aeromonas part 1. In that particular topic, I have discussed about the morphology, cultural characteristics, pathogenesis, clinical manifestations of Vibrio cholera, and the remaining part of this topic from Vibrios and Aeromonas. Now I'm going to talk about the epidemiological aspects and prevention of cholera apart from along with the halophilic vibrios and their diseases to produce. So epidemiology is very important for any communicable disease. So the most three important things involved in epidemiological aspects are: one is environment, host, and agent. So any organisms to transmit in the community, it requires the proper environment to survive for those microorganisms, and proper susceptible host is required, and the virulent agents are required to produce the clinical manifestations. And if we see about the epidemiology of this most communicable disease, the delta region of the Ganges and Brahmaputra, like West Bengal and Bangladesh, are considered as homeland for this particular disease. Till early 19th century, the six pandemics were occurred. I mean, 1817 to 1923, six pandemics were occurred in India by the classical biotype of Vibrio cholera. But seventh pandemic was started in 1961 from Indonesia by the other biotype of Vibrio cholera, that is Eltar vibrios. And with this Eltar biotype, pandemic cholera affected the India in 1964. And this, when compared to the other six pandemics, the seventh pandemic is a bit different in three important aspects, because this Eltar biotype causing seventh pandemic was associated with more carrier state, and it's able to survive in environment for the longer time, and spread to Central and South America and Australia. So these are the very important aspects of this particular pandemics, six pandemics, seven pandemics. But what are the epidemiological determinants to encircle this bacteria in the community? Most important thing is Eltar biotype is associated with human carrier state, and seawater and the crustaceans. The seawater and crustaceans acts as reservoirs for this particular bacterium. And high temperatures and heavy rainfall are associated with transmission of this bacterium, and malnutrition in case of poverty is associated with disease manifestations. And the people, the transmission also associated with mobility of the people, that's pilgrimages and festivals are mainly where the people will congregate in many groups and many numbers. So this transmission will be more during the pilgrimages and festival time. And O blood group people are more at risk because they are considered as susceptible when compared to other group individuals. And the current scenario of this cholera, if you see the Indian scenario, all states are involved. In 2011, 2,341 cases were occurred with 10 deaths, and Eltar biotype was dominance, and O139 also responsible for these cholera outbreaks in few cases. And before 2016, excuse me, Before 2016, 1.3 to 4 million cases with 21,000 to 4 lakhs deaths were notified. But in 2016, 1.3 lakhs cases were occurred with 2,420 deaths only. So before 2019, 1.3 to 4 million cases, out of which 21,000 to 4 lakhs deaths were occurred. But it was reduced in 2016 onwards. The largest outbreak was occurred in Yemen with 6 lakhs cases and in 2000 deaths. Of course, in the 2016, even the same number of cases, many number of cases were occurred in Nigeria and Somalia also. And majority of these cases were produced by the O1 Elthar biotype, but O139 and classical biotype also responsible for this cholera in Bangladesh in 2016. So whenever you identify the new biotype, that will be identified by sending the samples to National Reference Center. In India, the National Reference Center is National Institute for Cholera and Enteric Diseases, that is NICED, located in Kolkata. And the preventive aspects, if you see the general measures, the proper food and water sanitation. So the proper food and water sanitation will reduce the transmission of this bacteria, and proper sewage disposal also can reduce the contamination of water and food, which results in reduced transmission. And perfect hand hygiene with hand sanitizers will also reduce the transmission of this particular bacterial infection. And in case of exposure, we have to consider the prophylaxis, chemoprophylaxis, especially during the epidemics with tetracycline antibiotic. And next important thing is the vaccines to prevent. The injectable killed vaccines were available once, but now no use with these vaccines. That's why we have gone for the oral cholera vaccines. Again, we have the killed vaccines, that is whole cell vaccine prepared by using Vibrio cholera O1 classical as well as Elthar biotype. So this is whole cell vaccine which consists of Vibrio cholera O1 and O1 serogroup with classical and Elthar biotypes. And next one is whole cell recombinant B subunit vaccine, designated as WC/RPS. It's commercially available as Duco Oral. This vaccine is a killed vaccine which can be given in 3 doses with 7 days gap, only for more than 2 years of age group. So this within 21 days we can finish the total course of this vaccination. And remember, the protection is short-lived, and it has to be given at the time of epidemics, or in case of pandemics also we can give, or at the time of outbreaks we have to consider this vaccination. And the live attenuated vaccines also available in this oral cholera vaccines. Excuse me. This live attenuated vaccines, they are prepared with mutant strains which are lacking the gene for the production of cholera toxin. So you all know that by this time that cholera toxin production is gene mediated. The tox gene is responsible for, or CTX gene is responsible for the production of cholera toxin. So these live attenuated vaccines which are prepared with mutant strains are lacking the gene for CT production. And the designated vaccines or commercially available vaccines are CVD 103 dash HZR vaccine. This is the name of the vaccine, simply called Oracol vaccine. Contains the strain 539B of O1 biotype and Inaba serotype, and it has to be given in single dose, and production starts after receiving 8 days. So from 8 days onwards or 9th day onwards, the individual may get protection after receiving this vaccination. And next point is the type of vibrios are halophilic vibrios. And these vibrios can grow in high salt concentration. That means at more than 6% salt concentration, they can be grown. That's why they are called as halophilic vibrios or salt-loving vibrios. And they mainly seen in marine water, and in case of late summer and early rainfall, they can spread very easily. And the best source for them are the oysters. The oysters will be considered as the best source for this particular bacterial infection. All these halophilic vibrios produces green color colonies on the TCBS agar because it's a general, but some of them can produce the yellow colored colonies also. I'll discuss about those species in the next. But in general, majority of them will produce green color, but some will produce yellow colored colonies also. We will discuss it about it later. And there are three important species are there. One is Vibrio parahemolyticus, Vibrio vulnificus, also known as wound maker, and Vibrio alginolyticus, which is more salt tolerant halophilic vibrios, which can survive even at 10% salt concentration also. So we'll go to the Vibrio parahemolyticus, the first among the halophilic vibrios. The first time it was identified, isolated from Japan in 1953, and of course in India it was identified from Kolkata. And it possesses polysaccharide capsule. These organisms are motile, but never shows the darting motility, which you can see in case of Vibrio cholera group of organisms. And their urea is positive, and they possesses type 3 secretory system. So here in the type 3 secretory system, the pathogenic proteins will be injected just like in a nano like system. So it will be into the cells, these pathogenic proteins will be injected. That is a type 3 secretory system. That will be discussed and that will be learned in detail while talking about Salmonella typhi organisms, where the type 3 system secretory system also exists. And so next one is the serotypes responsible for the human disease from the Vibrio parahemolyticus are O3K6 and O4K68. These serotypes mainly responsible for human disease. And parahemolyticus clinically presents as gastroenteritis with watery or rarely in the form of dysentery. Usually watery diarrhea, but rarely it produces like a dysentery with abdominal cramps. And extra-intestinal clinical manifestations also seen in the form of sepsis, otitis media, and wound infection. And lab diagnosis, the morphology, they are gram-negative organisms with bipolar staining. This is a very important point to remember. They'll show the bipolar staining. That means on the both sides of the both ends of the bacilli, you can see the more stained areas. And on TCBS agar, you can see the green colored colonies. And on high salt blood agar, the blood agar with high salt concentration, you can see the beta hemolysis with swarming. So because they are motile organisms, so you can see the swarming on the blood agar medium. Swarming will be seen, and here you can see the beta hemolysis. That means clear zone of hemolysis around the colonies you can see. And next one is the salt tolerance test. In case of salt tolerance test, you can see the growth also. That means in the 8% salt concentration broth also these organisms can grow. And this is a salt concentration test, salt tolerance test, where we have to grow these organisms in 8% sodium chloride solution. And definitely you can see the growth, whereas the other organisms can't grow. And the next one is Vibrio vulnificus. Vulnificus means in Latin, the meaning for vulnificus is a wound maker. So it's a most severe infection. Usually it present in the form of primary wound infection, presents in the form of painful erythematous swelling or cellulitis. Here you can see the severe form of cellulitis in this particular condition, or sometimes it may be seen in the form of necrosis. But sometimes it is responsible for primary sepsis also. When the people are suffering with underlying liver disease, or people are suffering with iron overload, or in case of renal insufficiency, or in case of immunosuppression, this vulnificus directly produces the sepsis, which is again a life-threatening condition. And this vulnificus is a lactose fermenter and produces again green colonies and TCBS agar, produces green colored colonies and TCBS agar. And treatment, always remember, we have to administer the antibiotics very rapidly. Rapid administration of antibiotics can make the people to survive, otherwise it's very difficult to make them to survive. And another important thing is we have to do the wound debridement. All the slough and any other organic matter present in the wound has to be removed. And the antibiotics to be considered are tetracyclines, fluoroquinolines, and third generation cephalosporins. And this fluoroquinolines like ciprofloxacin or ciprofloxacin drugs can be considered, and the third generation cephalosporins can be considered, like cefatoxim or ceftriaxone. And next one is Vibrio alginolyticus. It's the most salt tolerant. So they can tolerate up to 10% of the salt solution. On TCBS, it produces yellow colored colonies because just like Vibrio cholera, this is also sucrose fermenter. That's why you can see the yellow colored colonies when these organisms are growing on TCBS agar. And clinical presentation, it present in the form of conjunctivitis or otitis external and also otitis media. So the eye and ear infections are very common. Of course, they also causes for wound infections also. And the treatment, usually they produce a self-limiting disease. And if the wound is present, or in case of ear like otitis external or otitis media, we have to drain the secretions, and we can consider the tetracyclines to treat this clinical condition. And next one is Aeromonas. These are the earlier, they are members of the Vibrionaceae family. And the three important agents causing for human disease are Aeromonas hydrophila, Aeromonas cavea, and Aeromonas veroneae. And the source for this Aeromonas species are environment and also the animals. Animals also acts as a source for this particular bacterial infection. And clinically it presents in the form of gastroenteritis characterized by watery diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. Vomiting and fever. And musculoskeletal and wound infections also seen. Bacteremia also possible. Epiglottitis, pharyngitis, and pneumonia can be seen. And another important thing is hemolytic uremic syndrome. This uremic associated with some mortality also. This is also possible in case of Aeromonas infections. And lab diagnosis, these Aeromonas species are motile with single polar flagellum, and mechanc is they produce this non-lactose fermenting colonies. And another important thing is these organisms is positive for oxidase as well as catalase. That's why from the clinical specimens, we may get confused because of the oxidase positivity and motility, where these Vibrio cholera organisms may get confused with Aeromonas species. And another important thing is they utilizes the arginine, amino acid arginine only. They utilizes arginine only, which is another differentiating feature from the Vibrio cholera group of organisms. And the growth not stimulated by the sodium chloride, but either for the transportation or for the enrichment, always we use the sodium chloride in case of Vibrios. So here the sodium chloride is not having any role in the stimulation of growth of this particular bacterium. And treatment, again we can go for the fluoroquinolines like ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin, and we can treat with cotrimoxazole. And this is about the lab diagnosis of the Aeromonas, which are responsible for watery diarrhea, which mimics the disease like cholera. And in diagnosis also, they are motile, actively motile with a single polar flagellum, and resembles like Vibrio cholera. And this is oxidase and catalase positive, so we may get confused with the cholera group of organisms. This is about the remaining part of Vibrios and Aeromonas species to the undergraduate level to learn about the major points related to this particular group of organisms. And thank you very much for your patient hearing.